All right, so we are in that phase of doing two videos in a day, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
And that's because these topics are close to your heart.
Well, there's something that I feel very strongly about and think that warrant their own videos. So, the first one being stock trading versus a career. So, even here, locally, we know people who are contemplating giving up day jobs for quote unquote, day trading. And, or they've hit a certain point in their portfolios where they feel that they can eliminate the need for work. And I think that's something you and I have talked about consistently and something that I don't foresee happening for us, anyways. So, one of the things that has always been to our advantage is that irrelevant of what's going on in the market, irrelevant of what's going on in our careers, we always have one or the other to kind of fall back on, which allows us to make more reasonable and bold choices, I would say, and even safe choices in both aspects. Um, I have a very strong dislike for people not working in general. So I don't see that as a positive thing, and it's something that I think is essentially ruining American culture and society, and likely to cause all of them to be replaced by computers. So, that's one area where I feel like Tesla is potentially going to take over, as you said, because they're going to be able to replace a lot of people that don't want to work in terms of building things that are not only cars that are autonomous, but hopefully other things as they progress. And I used to be very much of the belief that we needed to give people jobs, and that was our responsibility as Americans. And I got to tell you, as even before COVID, but even much more so since then, I feel very strongly that people don't want to work. And therefore, you can have as many jobs as you want or need people to have. And if they're able to live off of unemployment checks or live off of spend their extra federal money on investing and make a few thousand or even a few million in trading, they're opting not to work, and that's a big concern. And I think that it's going to cost society dearly. And unfortunately, those of us that are actually working consistently, and if I don't even know what working from home looks like, are ending up paying the price for everyone else to not work. And I just don't know how long that's going to last.
Temporarily, because I think 2020 was a watershed moment for America and the rest of the world. So 2020 was the year in which you found out who really wants to work, who really wants to help society, and those who are lazy and don't want to work.
I think most people would opt not to work if they had the option, and that's
We would not. I mean, we
we would
work.
not. I said
Yeah.
most. I think most would. And but think about that. I mean, it's like you drive by even fast food, and they've got signs in front of their building stating that they are willing to pay back student loans, or that they'll give a $500 sign-on bonus. This is very concerning. 80% of people who apply for jobs are not showing up to interviews or never even responding. So they're blindly applying to these jobs to meet a quota. It's crazy to me, and it's something that we're struggling in terms of desperately needing competent, qualified staff. Most business owners I know are voicing the same concerns and saying we can't find anybody to work, regardless of the industry. For us, it's healthcare. For others, it's maintenance or service jobs, restaurant owners, salons, and ultimately, I mean, I don't know where that's going. So I have concerns, and I think that the more we can do to have confidence in things that are going to make this process autonomous, or that we're able to use technology to potentially replace positions. It's unfortunately a necessity at this point.
No, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You do not have a choice because you're not able to get anybody to fill all the jobs that you need to run your company.
Well, and it's not
So,
just me. I mean, it's everyone. It's service workers. I mean, they can't get anybody to fix air conditioners. They can't get anybody to work on pools, or anybody to, serve food or check out people at the grocery store. I mean, this is going on all over. And I don't know how many, so I think here's the thing. What happens when you get to a certain point, or you've done well in your investments, and you think, well, I don't really have to work, or I'm going to make trading my career? That's dangerous.
bad mistake.
It's a huge mistake, because here's the other thing. So to do that means that you're going to have to pull from your own investments, right? Which is a taxable thing, because I'm assuming most of the people who are doing this are not, living off their Roth IRAs.
You can't until you are 59 and a half.
Right. So if they're, deciding now, one, they're taking a huge tax hit because they've either liquidated a position or whatever, and are going to have to realize those gains. So, and in terms of, there's inflation, things are going to change.
But in all fairness, we take huge tax hits all the time, and we don't think twice about it.
But what I'm saying is we don't quit our day jobs. Right. As a result. So if you're going to do that now, say, you're in your 30s like I am, and you opt to not work anymore, you make trading your sole career. I think
assuming you are good at trading, which 99% of people are not good at trading. I'm not good at trading.
Or that you made enough to retire.
Yeah.
Like quote unquote retire. How can you make enough now to retire anyways without knowing? I would be scared to death at 30. Let's say, I had a whatever amount, because people are living longer, and then you're going to lose your skills in the job market, and you're essentially going to be obsolete by the time you do realize that it's necessary for you to go back to work. So there's a reason that people should be working and doing what they need to do now. For me, I think that it gives us the ability to have multiple things in our life that are valuable and meaningful, but also that we have, something to fall back on. If we wanted to, if we lose whatever, we can rebuild ourselves one way or the other.
Yeah. And then the scary part is people come up with these figures that they're going to retire at X amount of dollars or Y amount of dollars.
And it's ridiculous, because the concept of this amount of dollar is going to be vastly different. And in what world? Like, are we talking about in today's economy, in tomorrow's economy? There is no magic number, because, it's that's arbitrary. You can't state at what point. I mean, you can set yourself up to where, you feel that you'll be gaining a certain percentage by a certain period of time. But I don't feel that it's smart. And I think that people should lay low too. I mean, if you're doing well, great. I'm happy for you. That's awesome. But, that doesn't mean that you have to let everything change. I mean, you can still very much work a job, and you could potentially find a better one, or do something more meaningful with your time, or become more entrepreneurial. But by no means should you just say, okay, that's something people who win the lottery do.
Yeah.
Why on earth are we doing it with the stock market, which is a scary, scary thing?
So here's the paradox. If you think that you can retire if you have X amount of money, whatever that means for you, that means you are taking money too seriously. If those who don't take money seriously, it's like breathing air or drinking water. There's overabundance of air. You don't think twice, oh my gosh, I'm breathing so much air in today, and the air is going to be depleted. There's air in the environment. Water, you don't think twice unless you are in the Middle East or in the desert, that you're going to run out of water. You do not let those affect your major life decisions. Why do people let money affect their decisions? If I have X amount of money, that's going to change my life. I'm going to give up my job and I'm going to have more time to do X, Y, Z. Well, that means you are taking money too seriously. And if you start taking money too seriously, then you're never going to be a successful trader or investor, speculator. A common theme among all the greatest investors, speculators, traders is they do not take money seriously. Money is just a byproduct. They are more interested in being world class in the game.
Well, okay.
I mean, that's the way I feel. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that it's not even whether you're taking it seriously. I don't feel that they're taking it seriously in terms of putting an amount on it and saying walk away, because that's honestly being reckless, in my opinion.
What's being reckless?
Stating that I'm going to do X amount if I have this amount of money. It's a reckless concept.
It is a reckless concept.
Because
like, yeah.
I mean, ultimately, for me, you know, and again, this is where I feel that education has a big part in it. Because if you're somebody who spent a huge portion of your life to obtain a degree, you understand the work behind that and what is needed. So the concept of not doing anything with that seems ridiculous because it's a waste. And so I think that that's why, too, for me, it's so important that our children obtain the highest level of education that's possible, because I think it gives you a different perspective and a different sense of responsibility.
Yeah. And, you know, this concept of philanthropy, I mean, you are never successful unless you are engaging in huge amount of philanthropy. And I don't subscribe necessarily to the conventional model of philanthropy.
Well, the majority of people that are doing that are doing so as a tax haven.
But to me, philanthropy is what we do day
correct.
And day to
I mean,
day.
yes, and so I think a lot of people, if they're, I don't know, you don't.
I mean, you are in a helping profession. You're the CEO of a company that helps numerous people every single day. So you are engaging in philanthropy.
I guess because people, too, it's easier for them to do something that they can walk away from. If they have no skin in the game, and, you know, and I'm not saying there's not people with great intentions out there that are out there, you know, working in a charitable capacity. But if that's your sole thing and you're doing that because you are so successful that ergo, you know, all you need to do is spend time now, you know, that you're not fooling anybody. That's because you want to get a salary for said charity, and
right.
I mean, it's
yeah. I mean, look at Elon Musk. I mean, the guy doesn't have to work, but he works like crazy.
I think a better example is Jeff Bezos. I mean, that's somebody who could retire now.
Well, that's not a great example because the guy did retire from Amazon. You're probably not keeping up with the latest news. But Jeff Bezos gave up he's still the chairman of the board or whatever.
But I mean,
he retired from active day-to-day management. So,
well,
but Elon Musk is extremely hands-on, and he's like, you know.
Okay, well, Zuckerberg's my age. He could retire tomorrow.
Yeah, he chooses not to retire because these guys, they find huge fulfillment and they've got like huge missions.
There's a necessity to working, and I think that, okay, so let's go to the other topic that is pressing to me, and that is those of us who are doing it, who are working day in, day out. For us, it was 6 days a week, even during the height of Corona, in person. Nonetheless, we were not hiding, you know, from home and sitting in it. But I mean, you know, literally out there, and as a person who did that in the late stages of my pregnancy and was, you know, still actively involved in helping people and direct care, I think that it's very troublesome for us to be expected to continue to have our taxes lifted. I mean, or not lifted, to increased over and over and in higher amounts, and be expected to pay for people It's entitlement. I don't want the concept. I don't want to work. I want to stay at home. I won't work a job that doesn't pay me more than unemployment. I can say this as an employer. These are literal things that I have heard in interviews. I these have been, if it's shocking to me. And then how are the rest of us going to be able to keep our doors open, even if the so-called upper 1% or whatever if all of that is going to unemployment. It's a scary concept for me, and it's hard to penalize people who, how do you get there? The bulk of us did not get there by luck. It's not from inheritance or from just, I mean, it takes years and years and years of hard work and education to do what you're doing, and being willing to work hours that nobody else will work, nights, weekends, and to have a different standard held to you for that kind of work, or to believe that somebody else is quote unquote working harder than you because they have a lower paying job, is just ridiculous, because you at a certain point have to be able and willing to do the job for all of those who are not able to work at your level. Meaning that whatever is in my scope of practice, everything beneath that is also my scope and things that I do. Whether that's picking up a broom, like Elon Musk, they say he sweeps the shop of his building. A lot of times these are not things you're doing for face value. You're doing them because you literally have to, because a lot of other people won't.
Uh, okay, so the money that anybody makes is direct function of how much value you contribute to society. The more value you are contributing to society, the more money you will make. That's a byproduct. So those people who are not contributing to society, over long term, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be wealthy. They're not going to be fulfilled. It's like a mentality of poverty and impoverishment.
I guess though, as I was saying, and I don't want to run the risk of making too many people angry, but this is one of the only countries in the world where those that are impoverished, actually, I mean, even physically, do not bear that, in contrast to other countries.
Anyway, I think we are going too far.
So I mean, what I'm saying is that you've got people in this country. We have become at the height of entitlement, and that is where I feel that it's a scary thing. Never before have I seen so much of a movement towards people thinking that their own wants, not needs, are more important than helping others or working and putting your best foot forward. I think you should work regardless of whether you need to or not, to a certain point.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's like walking.
Well,
it's like you exercise. You're gonna stop walking and stop exercising because you're too freaking rich to do it? That's stupid.
I think a good point would have been the difference in mentality, say the 1950s or not, before that, maybe like World War II era, where you had people of great means, or even celebrities, old movie stars and things, that were enlisting to help with the war movement.
Oh yeah.
Who obviously didn't have to, didn't need to, could have easily gotten some kind of exemption, but all felt compelled to do their part. And this strong sense of need to help a community, to help their family, to help, their fellow man. Whereas now people are very much more so driven on how to help themselves. Yeah. And that's where I feel there's a concern.
Yeah. I don't subscribe to most of these concepts that there is a crisis of wealth. If you suddenly become wealthy, you are in some sort of a crisis. That's rubbish. That's a great problem to have. Like when I came from India to America back in 1992, that was a huge change for me. I mean, I came from a poor country to like one of the top countries in the world. So did I go through a crisis? I mean, not really. It was like, it was a huge culture shock to me.
It's an adjustment.
Adjustment, right? But you adjust to it and then you start living. So if you suddenly come, say if you were a Tesla stockholder or trading call options or whatever, and you made like, XYZ $1 million, how is that a crisis? How is that a crisis? You should thank yourself, be lucky. And if you're really that disturbed and distressed by having a ton of money, give it away. Nobody is stopping
I
you
mean,
from
I
giving it
think
away. Yeah.
that's a ridiculous concept. It's
Yeah.
it's like a movie,
Yeah, it's
Annie and Daddy Warbucks kind of a deal. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I mean,
And
philanthropy
everyone
is,
plans for.
yeah.
Everybody has. If you had $1 million, what would you do? Whether you have that idea or not, people will tell you that. I mean, that's $1 million question, a Slumdog Millionaire, whatever. I mean, everyone has this idea of what they would do if they had a lot of money. So why would it then be so crazy if someone did? I mean, how is that? I don't, and practicing in behavioral medicine, I don't know that I have anybody that comes to me and has that as their chief complaint to
No.
justify a crisis.
No.
I mean, ridiculous.
A crisis is when your car broke down and you don't have a place to go. If your child is sick, if you have been diagnosed with a terminal illness, something really bad happened in your life. Yeah. I mean, that's a crisis. You became like super rich in 1 year. That's not a freaking crisis. That means you're a hypocrite and you're just, extolling your virtues, how much you want to be in touch with being the common man, and you're no longer a common man because you've got XYZ
But why shouldn't
$1 million.
you be? You've got to stick to your grassroots. I don't believe in that, because in what, is in terms of saying you don't believe in yourself, because if you start off at a certain place in life and you say, I'm going to work really, really hard so I can get to here, and then I'm going to go to here, you're prepared for that. Right. You know what that looks like. Right. And even if it hits you, say, overnight, I mean, I don't know. It's a phenomenon, or what they used to construe as quote unquote new money. Or what they would call, if you watch the Titanic, I mean, they briefly address that, where somebody, but I mean, new money, old money, I mean, this is America. What difference does it make? If people are born into it, or they get it later on in life.
Money is nothing. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a concept.
It's a concept, yeah.
And the second thing being, why should it change anything? I mean, yeah, buy yourself a home you like, or, whatever. But why does it need to change anything? I think that, one, you run the risk of losing it because you're putting too much, as you said, I guess, taking it too seriously.
Right.
And you really can't be cashing out, so to speak.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's like something that really disturbs me. So the whole concept of money, people start putting too much into numbers. Numbers mean nothing. It's nothing. It's like, you are never too rich not to lose your money overnight. There have been several instances of billionaires who have lost billions overnight.
I will say the more that you have, though, the more people seem to try to gain something from you. I will say. And that's I won't say that that's a quote unquote crisis. I will just say that the more that comes from success, whether any kind of success, it doesn't have to be money, whether it's power, position, recognition, the more problems, or I guess fires are things that you do have to deal with, and the more you have to manage. The larger a house you buy, the more maintenance. I mean, it's a very simple concept, but is that a crisis? No, it's just a different way of looking at it. You have your own crises when you're quote unquote, poverty stricken. At one point in my life, I was a single parent, and, there were getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and trying to deal with that, and getting the kids to daycare in bad weather, and having a tire blow out on the side of the road and ice with children in the car. That's a crisis. It's a problem I had to deal with, but it's the same, now if it's, that I am running on half a crew and I've got a huge company to manage and I don't have enough, it's a different thing to manage. But if you're resilient, you have the life skills, you should be able to function in any.
Yeah, it's just a function of bull market. I mean, this is like, everybody's been making money in the last few years. uh, I mean,
It's
you
like
need,
the
yeah,
2008.
yeah. It's okay. So you need to know what you're doing to make money in any given market. Even in the most raging bull market, you will not make money unless you know what to buy, how long to hold, all those things. However, lot of people have made a lot of money. This is a bull market, so they are having all kinds of first world problems. Wait till the market goes into a bear market, a sustained bear market. Most of these guys cannot handle losing 90% of their net worth. That will cause them to become depressed.
Well, I mean, that's a 1929.
Yeah, I don't think that could happen, but anything's
Well,
possible.
anything
Yeah,
is possible, but what
yeah,
I'm saying is if you have a sense of value within your day job, or you have something else that drives you, those sort of things are less powerful, and you have the ability to it's having diversity in your life. I think, for us, that we don't have to do a lot of the things that we have to do, but we do them because they're, I don't know.
because we love helping people. I mean, that's the honest truth.
And honestly, I
Yeah,
want my children to grow up to do
yeah.
the same. I think that you run the risk of, if you say, I'm cashing out at 40, I'm cashing out at 35. What are you teaching, your family, your children? You're saying that, okay, well, when I'm gone and you inherit this, quit your day job, just live off of it. They didn't earn it, they didn't have it. I mean, and then eventually it runs off. And then, so you've got to also think about the factors that you're passing on. Whereas if your children think, wow, my parents, if they didn't want to, they didn't have to do a lot of what they're doing. They learn a sense of work ethic, because eventually it's going to run out. Even the wealthiest person,
Oh
they're
yeah.
not going to have enough to leave that amount of wealth
Oh yeah.
to their grandchildren.
Yeah.
And so what are you teaching your children? If you and your, are turning around and saying, get to a certain point of success and then just,
Yeah,
do what you want to in life.
people don't think big enough. They don't think big enough. I mean, if you think that $1 billion is a lot of money, you're not thinking big enough. I mean, seriously, that's the truth. Because there was this guy who lost like $10 billion, whatever this, Archegos capital. You never have too much money. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You make one wrong decision in the stock market and you can lose all of it, if not most of it or all of it. Okay. So unless, the most important thing that you should be doing is investing in yourself every single day, regardless of money that you have. If you are the kind of person who starts thinking, dude, I've made it, I'm gonna retire because I've got like freaking $100 million
Now,
or
if you're
200.
70
Yeah.
years old, by
Yeah,
all means,
right.
please do.
Right.
You've earned, I mean,
Right, you've earned it,
you've
yeah.
got a certain point in your life.
Yeah, but if you're in your like 30s, 40s,
And you've got
yeah,
children. I mean, think
Yeah.
about it. What does it take? And I mean, I will say, and we're not going to go into extreme. We've been through our fair share of hardships, and I'm not talking financially. I mean, personally, we've known what it is to feel scared about something happening to our children, or having, scares in terms of things that really, really matter in life. And you realize how fast those things can go.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
yeah.
so on top of that, I mean, we're living in a climate where over 50%, 70% of first marriages end in divorce. So on top of that, I mean, if you say, okay, you're cashing out now, what's to say that's going to happen in the future? So, I mean, you should always have something that you are maintaining to better yourself, that you will continue to produce value in the world. And you shouldn't live off of what somebody else has produced, or what you gained by, and it's not to say that you can't change your lifestyle, or that you can't better your lifestyle.
Right.
But you've got to continue to impart wisdom and lead by example. So, and then also, I mean, what's with, if everybody does this, everybody makes, a couple $1,000,000 here or there, right now or this year through their, what is that? Robinhood account or whatever they're doing. And they all just say, okay, well, I'm not going to work. I don't know at what point
Yeah,
society is going to
okay.
function.
Yeah, in real life, you got a earache. Okay, a severe earache. Okay, you got $200 million sitting in your freaking account. What good is that gonna do it to you? You got severe earache. Most important thing is to get to an urgent care and get it looked at and get it treated. That's the most important thing. That's real life. The goods and services that people are providing in society, they are much more valuable with any money. I think that's plenty. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess just in closing, what I would say is that really if there needs to be a contribution, and you've got to really think twice about what you wanted to do. I think when people are little and they say, I ask kids all the time and they say, oh, I want to be a veterinarian, I want to be a teacher, and you've got these concepts. People don't just say, oh, I want to be rich and that be it. I mean, it's, well, rich doing what? I want to be rich being a lawyer, I want to be rich being an astronaut, whatever. But that concept by itself doesn't mean anything.
Nope.
So you have to have something that you're deriving value from, and there needs to be something in there that makes you,
Yeah. And on any given day, if you start thinking that you are super rich, just compare yourself to where you place on Forbes 400, and that will
and
bring
look
you
at the
fast
people
back
who
to
are
reality.
quote unquote
Yeah.
super rich, and are they giving up their day jobs?
No, Warren Buffett does not. Elon Musk does not. This
Zuckerberg.
guy Zuckerberg does not. Even Amazon guy, was it Jeff Bezos? He's doing all that blue thing, that space thing,
They find
Blue
other,
Origin
I mean,
or whatever, right?
Bill Gates hasn't fully retired. I
No,
mean,
nobody does. Nobody does, because I mean they're not stupid. Anyway, I think we'll end it. All right, bye. This is probably one of our most controversial videos. And I think we're gonna call it quits after this. Most unpopular video.
probably.
All right, bye. it is it is pretty